Hi, this is Holly with Presence Point, and welcome to another Shepherds in Action interview. I am so pleased today to have with me Randy Hart. Randy is the Executive Director of the BBFI, Baptist Bible Fellowship International Central Office. I think he's based in Springfield, Missouri. I think that's right, is it?
Yeah, that's a
Randy?
mouthful, I know.
I know, it's like this really big, long title. But I connected with Randy first about a year ago when we attended a Fellowship Week event at BBC, now Mission University in Springfield, and through connection of a dear friend. And then we've continued to kind of build relationship over the shepherding content, over how we can work with BBFI pastors. And it was great to have Randy in a workshop with us in Fort Worth, Texas. I think February is when that was.
Yeah.
So welcome, Randy. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This incredible opportunity. I've enjoyed getting to know you and Doug over the last year, and the whole team. Everybody on your team has just been so kind and so good to get to know.
We pulled another one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And did I get the title right? Was it correct?
I think so. It's usually the more generally speaking, it's just the peon that does whatever needs to be done. So that's I can do that. I can do whatever needs to be done. Help out.
Well, there are two things that really got my attention, and the reason I kind of chased Randy down a couple of months ago and said, please, will you do this for us? And one was just his demeanor and the way he influences people around him. So as you all know, if you listen to these very often, I don't usually interview people I haven't known for a while or know somebody who knows them fairly well, because, you know, we are all humans. But sinful sheep leading sinful sheep, right? We often say.
Yeah.
But I just love the way Randy connected with people. And then I saw a Facebook post, and I want to say he posted this, Randy, I think it was about 2 months ago, but you said, today I have, and you listed this list of 10 or 15 things, done this with a guy from here, and met with the pastor who is here, met with this here. And it was just a beautiful example of the way your position allows you to shepherd mostly men, but I would say mostly pastors and men in the Baptist Bible Fellowship space internationally in a way that it's just really sweet. So we know you're a shepherd dad. I know you're a shepherd spouse. I know all of those things, but as I asked you the question about where you shepherd, would you kind of explain how that Facebook post came about and how you do all these really cool things all at one time?
Well, some of it is, we were just talking about this earlier, thankful for technology that allows us to connect in ways that, a generation ago would have been impossible. But a large part of my job that I have, my ministry that I have, is just to connect with pastors where they are. And, the post you were mentioning, it was a normal day and an abnormal day when I sat back and reflected on it, because I was able to connect with pastors of some of the largest churches in the country and some of the smallest churches in the country. And one of them, I think, was in New York City, and one of them was in a small town in Montana that no one would ever heard of. So it's neat to be around the pastors that I am, and it's such a diverse, eclectic group. But it's definitely a privilege that I get.
Well, and just watching you. So the Fellowship Week, for those of you who may not have been there, is a time when pastors come from all over U.S. normally, but also some missionaries from outside the U.S., and they commission missionaries and they get them ready to go out and serve. But they also graduate people from the seminary and from Mission University there. So there's a lot happening that week. And Mission University is actually my alma mater, formerly Baptist Bible College, from, like a really long time ago. But and so it's been kind of fun that my first time back was last year, I think 45 years later, and I got to go back and experience just tons of emotion and tons of actually gratitude for being there and for what people have done there for so many years. But I watched you around that space. I mean, it was, we'll call a field house, but I think it's a big gymnasium, really. Yeah. And it's just watching you connect with people and the genuineness, the way you've done it. So, and then see how you've done it even outside that space. So tell us about how you implement provision, protection, and presence where you shepherd in that space, and maybe some examples of that.
Sure. Well, I want to back up just a little bit, just for clarity, for anybody that may not know. It's, BBFI is behind me. The BBFI it's a network of about 2,500 churches here in America and about 10,000 churches outside of the United States. So it's not the largest network of churches, but it's a substantial network of churches. So, and we get together a couple times a year for national meetings. The one that you were at recently was at Mission University here in Springfield, where I'm at. This September, we're doing one in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is pretty neat to be at. So when we get together nationally, it's like you said, we encourage each other. There's preaching, there's approving and sending out missionaries and church planners. But really, it's one of the things that I've always had a heart for leaders. So when I pastored 2 different churches, even when I was in youth ministry, my heart was always to equip leaders for the work of the ministry and to love on leaders. Not that I don't want that to sound bad. I'm not better than anybody else. That's just who I'm drawn to. So now that I'm working with pastors, I have a heart for pastors. I pulled I want to read a few statistics. You probably heard these before, and I got these from Pastoral Care Inc. website. But it's heartbreaking whenever you understand what pastors really go through. And I've been a pastor, so I know 38% of pastors are thinking about quitting the ministry right now. 90% of pastors report working between 55 and 70 hours a week. 84% believe that they are on call 24/7. A few of them that really hit me. 80% of pastors believe that ministry has negatively impacted their family. Heartbreaking to me. 70% of pastors report having a lower self-image today than when they started ministry. 79% of pastors report not having someone they would consider a close friend. So these are all last one. One out of every 10 pastors that start as a pastor retire as a pastor. That's the success rate. And I haven't even talked about pastors' wives, which I believe is the hardest job in America. So I've been a pastor, so I know those struggles, and I know most of those stats are true. I lived through those. So when I get together with pastors, my goal is I feel it's a calling is to go and try to be present with them and to be there, sometimes just to be an encouragement, sometimes just to be a listening ear, sometimes just to hear the struggles they're going through. I jokingly say, because I miss pastoring all the time. I miss I didn't realize how much I missed it. It's one of those things you don't realize you don't realize what you've got until it's gone type of a thing. So I realized how much I missed shepherding when I was no longer a pastor shepherd, doing it all the time. So when I get together with pastors, I've been down that road. So I want to just be there to listen. Oh, what I was going to say, I'll tell them, tell me what's bad in your ministry right now, because I don't want to miss pastoring anymore, because since I don't get to pastor. Tell me all the things that I didn't miss, that I don't miss about it. So, because I know every job has it, but even full-time ministry, being a pastor, whether it's senior pastor, associate pastor, youth pastor, worship pastor, there's a lot of the underbelly or some of the stuff that most people don't understand that pastors go through. So when we get together for these meetings, we get together to preach for one another and to learn and get best practices. But I think one of the most important reasons why pastors get together is there's a band of brothers that probably outside of maybe military, there's not another comparison for what guys that are in the trenches go through together. So that's why it's important for pastors to get together. And whenever I'm with them, that's what I try to do, is just be there to listen, be a sounding board, and be an encouragement and be a help to them.
We often say, be where your feet are. And I'm the chief of sinners here, right? I have to really work at being where my feet are, and being fully present. And there's one thing when you say about listening, you're really fully present. I see that as I observe it with you, with other people. I feel it when you and I connect. And I think going back to the statistics you noted, when Doug and I first started this journey 10, 11, 12 years ago, I can't believe it's been that long, we looked at, okay, does the world need another leadership model? Like, really seriously, do we need this, right? And we used to spend significant time in a workshop talking about that, but there's just so much more, we'd rather spend more time in God's words. We don't as much anymore. But we said, okay, is what we're doing now working? All the good models, situational leadership, for example, there's lots of great models. Are all the good models, are they meeting the need? And the first place we looked was with pastors. How well are church boards shepherding their pastors, or how well are people in the congregation shepherding up to pastors? And the statistics of, why pastors quit. That was a great book a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And the statistics were just like what you shared earlier. I mean, it just blew my mind at how many pastors were leaving churches or leaving ministry entirely. And now even missionaries leaving the mission field, that number, right?
Yeah.
And so that was one of our prompters. Well, it's not working at church. The stuff we're doing now isn't working at church. And oh my gosh, look, in the volunteer world, turnover rate is like 33%. Okay,
Right.
so it's not working there. And oh, look what happens in these fatherless families. It's not working there, and look at the rate of voluntary turnover in a work environment. Oh, it's not working there. Maybe there is something that, we need to pay attention to. But it was that journey that I said, okay, I guess there's something we should do here. And so I think most of us don't understand. I can't understand what a pastor's wife faces like a pastor's wife can.
Yeah.
I can't understand what a pastor faces like a pastor can. And that has nothing to do with my gender, because I know plenty of female pastors, right? But I still I can't know that without having experienced it. And when you see that amount of frustration and not having a good friend and feeling discouraged more than when they started, and the number that want to leave, I think about the website practicalshepherding.com. I don't know if you've been at all on that site, but I love his Monday morning emails. I signed up for the emails even though I'm not pastoring, because I want to kind of get a feel for what it's like.
Yeah.
And as best I can. And those Monday morning emails, it's Monday morning, grab a cup of coffee, take a walk, take a deep breath, the rest will wait till tomorrow. A
lot of Monday mornings, a lot of pastors are ready to go flip burgers somewhere at a fast food restaurant. And because of what it's such an emotional time for pastors, because they put their identity in their job rather than in their identity in Christ and the calling that they have. And it's very natural for us to do. But, pastors will jokingly say their favorite time to get together is the week after Easter, because they had great numbers on Easter and they could all, because it's, a lot of pastors, even pastors that know each other, they will still put up a wall because they want everybody else to think that they're seeking approval of their peers. They want their churches to do well, and they want everybody to think their church is doing well. So, it's the fisherman's story of, how big was the fish, and pastors tell the same stories when they get together with each other. So it's natural things, but again, being there and on that side of it, sometimes you can see whenever you are present with someone, when they are being honest and when they're just when they need someone to listen a little on a deeper level. So pastors do it with people in their church, but they're not always the best at opening up to someone else. So
I think that was one of the special moments for us doing some workshops with pastors in the last few months, is in a couple of those workshops, the transparency and the authenticity was not what I expected. I mean, when these guys opened up with each other, or we come back from a silence and solitude and there are, wiping of eyes, right? They let themselves be real. There's a book by Paul David Tripp called Dangerous Calling. And it talks about that dangerous calling of being a pastor, and I think just being a leader at all, right? But I loved when I got to see these guys that we've been working with be fully themselves, and to say, this is a really hard place in my life. It's been sweet. So
it takes a while to take those barriers down. So again, it's just with what I do now, where I'm shepherding shepherds in a way. It's the same way a pastor is. Before someone in their church will just come and open up to them about whatever, they've got to build that relationship and that connection. So I have to do the same. So sometimes whenever I'm calling people, it's just to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, praying for you. So then down the road, if something happens, they've got someone they know that they can call on, they can call back, or when we see them in person, we can do that. So you talk about being present. One of the things, I'll share kind of a story, and it kind of sounds bad on the front end, but it was a lesson that I learned when I was a young pastor, and I would come to these preacher meetings. I wanted to get to know people and learn about people, and I wanted to talk to the big shots. As a young, immature guy, But one of the things that drove me crazy is when I would be sitting talking to someone and they were always looking over my shoulder to find
Mm,
someone else that they could go talk to that was more important than me.
yeah.
And it struck a nerve with me then, and it's one of my pet peeves now. So when I'm talking with someone, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to, I try to give them my full attention so I don't want anyone to ever think that I'm looking over their shoulder to find someone else to go
Yeah.
talk to.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's
Nothing's
so,
more painful than
yeah.
feeling like you're not important. Yeah.
John Maxwell said this. I read this in a book a long time ago. It says, great leaders walk slowly through a crowd. And
Mm,
it's the importance of walking through the crowd, wherever it is, and making connections with people, not just, and I'm a very task-oriented person, similar to what you are. So it doesn't come natural to me to shepherd. That's probably counterintuitive to what this whole podcast is or interview is it, but it's something that
yeah.
I have to be intentional about and put effort into. But that quote is always in the back of my mind. Great leaders walk slowly through a crowd, and I want to be present with people.
Mm, that's a great reminder. So what word of encouragement, you've given us some great things to think about. What word of encouragement would you have for other under shepherds, right? Or
Right.
shepherds of shepherds, or even for the congregation who could shepherd more effectively the pastor, shepherding up, as we call it, that pastor, or the boards who could more effectively shepherd their pastor, which I think is, if there's anything I could change, I'd say, or influence, it'd be I could just sit down with board members and saying, you have a responsibility that's greater than the budget.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right. Right. I would say, Pat, I would say to remember that pastors are people too. I know that's kind of a simple statement, but pastors are human. They're flawed. They make mistakes. They need other people. There used to be I was on, I know I've been taught this at some point. I don't know if I was taught this in college, but that pastors can't have close friends in their church because they're shepherding them and they got to kind of keep hands distance away. But I don't believe that. Some of my best friends are people that have been in the two churches that I pastored. So I would say, remember, pastors are people too. And here's what I would encourage this. I would encourage everyone watching this right now
Mhm.
to pause this video and pray for your pastor. So pause the video. It's not going anywhere. Pause the video and pray for your pastor right now. And then after you pray for him, send him a text or an email or call him and just say, I'm just thinking about you and I prayed for you today. I promise you that'll be the biggest encouragement of the day for them. So I'd say that from pastors are people too, and they need it. To pastors that are listening to this, I would say don't try to be Superman. You carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. I know you do. And you feel the responsibility for your entire congregation, whether it's 50 people or 5,000 people. You carry that burden, and that's why you're a pastor. But don't try to be Superman. Find other pastors that you can be completely open and transparent with. You need that band of brothers that will go to war with you, they're in the war with you, that you can just lower your guard and be open and honest, and you need that. Everyone needs that. So I'd say that to the pastors that are watching right now.
So I don't know who told me recently about the shepherd warrior. I don't think it was you, but someone else. I have a little note on my laptop right here. It talks about the shepherd as warrior. And we don't think about the shepherd being a warrior, but the reality is, where do you think David learned how to use that slingshot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he was a warrior protecting his sheep. And I would try to attach the link to the article that I read, but it was just beautiful about, we picture so often the shepherd being this gentle, kind, which they are to be,
Yeah.
but also they are man or woman, the shepherd or the shepherdess, who's protecting that flock, fiercely protecting
Yeah.
that flock.
Oh yeah.
And there's a warrior side of this where you have to fight. And sometimes it's fighting the enemy. Sometimes it's fighting your own insecurities, right? Sometimes it's fighting all those things. But I love the reminder that we aren't we don't have a cape. The cape doesn't really, it's not working today, at least for me. The cape is not working today. And we were told that so many in my generation if you go back to the 1970s, women could be anything, right? Well, we can't be everything. We can be anything we're, wired to be, but we can't be everything to everybody.
Right.
And the pastor who's just themselves, if I think back of the pastors in my life that were the most powerful in my life as far as touching my life, I think back to the pastor was a good teacher, a pastor of 1,500 size church. And I look at the pastor who was one of the most impactful in the shortest periods of time, who was a pastor of 6,000, who, because we traveled like 3 times we got to know really well. And he walked the shepherding journey with us. And I'll tell you what, we had 40 some people on a prayer team, and he was always the first to respond to a prayer text. Right. And knowing how busy he must be. And then the pastor of 65, right, who has been so impactful in our lives. And it's so important to remember they all have different needs. They're all different people. And they must get so tired.
Yeah.
I think of how we're, we just can get so tired. And I know in the business world, so I ran a couple of businesses for almost 30 years. And in the business world, I used to call them Walmart moments, right? The moments when it was like, I'm having a Walmart day. I just want to put on the vest and walk in and stand and greet people in the door. I don't want to have any more responsibility.
Yep.
I just want to, I'm having a Walmart moment. Just leave me be, and how that might've happened for me occasionally, but for a pastor, with one person's comment that's not thoughtful, can happen every Sunday.
Yeah.
So I love that and appreciate the reminder that we love our shepherds, and for the shepherds to give them space to think through the conversations you have and when you have them. And if something isn't a big deal, maybe just let go of it.
Yeah. Because it's, I don't know the stat, but the number, but most pastors that leave a church, it's over just a small handful of people. Most of the church will love them dearly, but a very small handful are the ones that criticize, cause problems, whatever it may be. And that's just enough for that pastor to leave. So it's a reminder for everybody else, the importance of praying and supporting and encouraging your pastor.
Well, Randy, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to add to all that before we conclude our time?
I don't think so. Just like I said, pray for your pastor. Make sure he knows you're praying for him, and not just your senior pastor, but the staff. And like I said it earlier, we kind of just passed over it, but I do believe that the pastor's wife is the hardest job in America. So pray for your pastor's wife. And, the pastor gets a lot of recognition, and the pastor's wife, a lot of times, is just watching the kids or just sitting on the pew. She needs to be celebrated, encouraged as well.
Well, and she hears a lot, and she takes to take it in for the man she loves.
Yeah.
And trying to process all that as well, I'm sure must be really difficult at times. Really hard.
There's been times my wife wanted to be mama bear anytime someone said something about me, and I was having to calm her down instead of, but that's typical of a lot of pastors' wives. So.
Well, thank you, Randy. I hope you all see why we invited Randy to be with us today. Just this glimpse he has. In fact, I'm going to try to find your post and share it with this video, because the post that day with you've done this and done this, it was just a really sweet reminder of the variety in your life and different ways you're shepherding different men and women. So thank you for that very much. Appreciate your time. So thank you for joining us. I would love for you to just take a moment and do exactly what Randy said. If you didn't pause the video earlier, do it now. But text your pastor, email your pastor, call your pastor. Just say thank you and you love them. They're not asking for anything, no critiquing on the sermon, no wishing it was different, no complaining about the potluck dinner. Just love them. Yep. And it goes so far. It just goes so far with the men and women in our lives who the Father has really entrusted to influence and lead us well. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Randy Harp. It's always great spending time with you. And don't you love our orange coordinated today with our provision, protection, and presence, and our BBFI backgrounds? I mean,
I wish it'd be great if we'd have planned that. It's just.
I know. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week. Hang in there, because we'll have another Shepherd in Action interview next week. If you'd like to, kind of scroll down below and make some comments. Reach out to Randy if you'd like at Baptist Bible Fellowship International, if you'd like to talk to him or connect to him personally. And just thank you Live deeply into your calling as the Father's under shepherd, and shepherd well those the Father has entrusted to your care today. Bless you.